Hello, my name is Evan Ross, and I am going to be talking to you about Italian organized crime. First off, what is organized crime? Well, when I say this, you usually probably think of movies like The Godfather or Goodfellas, or people from the 1920s and the Prohibition era like Al Capone. But this is what organized crime actually looks like today. It's the distribution of guns and drugs, and its corruption in political and business fields. Worldwide organized crime makes up roughly 15% of the GDP, and it really started to boom after the fall of the Soviet Union. This is when the Soviet states started to collapse, and most of these places had no police and a very bad court system. So what would people do? They went to the mafias for work. And here's an example in Bulgaria. 14,000 people lost their jobs between 1989 and 1991. So it's easy to think of organized crime like a business. There's zones of production, like Afghanistan and Colombia. There's zones of distribution, like Mexico and the Balkans. And there's zones of consumption, like the EU, Japan, and the United States. Now let's go into Italian organized crime specifically. There are three main mafias in Italy: the 'Ndrangheta, the Camorra, and the Cosa Nostra. The power the Italian mafias have resides in their control and exploitation of territory and community. They loan money to the poor and impoverished and expect favors or interest on their money back. Now, the Calabrian 'Ndrangheta takes in almost 4 billion euros a year, according to a 2013 research survey done. And the 'Ndrangheta may control as much as 80% of the cocaine entering Europe. Mafias use Italian bistros and cafes from Dusseldorf to South London as fronts for money laundering operations and the distribution of narcotics. Here's some examples. Coltan is sourced in the Eastern Democratic Republic of Congo. Now, coltan you'll find in almost all mobile phones, laptops, and gaming consoles. And the Congolese warlords were selling it to the mafia in exchange for weapons, and the mafia would then sell it to Western markets. And it's this Western desire to consume that is the primary driver of international organized crime. So, can we stop organized crime? Well, since the beginning of globalization, the global narcotics market has expanded enormously. But at the same time, there's been no related increase in the resources available to police forces. The Cosa Nostra, Camorra, and 'Ndrangheta are capable of manipulating elections and installing their people in administrative positions in places far from the territories they control. And it's been very difficult to stop these mafias because of the last 30 to 40 years. And by now, these mafias are so integrated into the economy and the government that to just wipe them out now would cause more trouble than it is to keep them in power. So how is the U.S. involved? Well, the 'Ndrangheta has been target of raids and even U.S. Treasury sanctions for well over a decade. Although the U.S. is involved in organized crime, it has bigger fish to fry than Italy. They have their hands full with stopping drugs entering from Mexico, so Italy is kind of on the back burner here. But in terms of worldwide organized crime, they are very involved. To end this presentation, I want to give you a quote from Misha Glenny, a journalist who studied organized crime syndicates. Organized crime impacts all sorts of areas of our lives. You don't have to sleep with prostitutes or take drugs in order to have a relationship with organized crime. They affect our bank accounts, they affect our communications, our pension funds. They even affect the food that we eat and our governments.